It's important to talk about agriculture. Agriculture is our food, it's our plants, it's our grocery store. It is what makes us tick, it's what makes us run. It's every bite that's ever gone into your body. It's cooperation at a global scale, and it is in trouble. It's broken. People have known it for a while. I'm not the first person to talk about it. This is real and it's serious, and everyone in the world should have at least some knowledge, some consciousness about this issue so that we can start fixing this together. It's going to involve global cooperation. It's going to involve some serious rethinking of what agriculture is, what it looks like. Let me paint you a picture of our current situation. Right now, in this agricultural world, we have separated the ecology from the farm, right? Ecology is how different wild forests and things all interact, right? You got birds, you got plants, you got trees, you got sun, you got lakes, you got rivers, you got dirt, and in the dirt there's bugs, and there's worms, and there's fungus, and there's bacteria, and they all work together, and it's very complicated, and it's all this like harmonious but also deadly battle of things living, right? That's ecology. Ecology is found everywhere, and for the longest of times, farms were a part of that ecology. Some things got invented, and that made the actual farming easier. People left the farms, but humanity left the ecology. What happened is we invented herbicides and fungicides, and we invented nitrogen-based fertilizers that are built off of petrochemicals. And we lost the fungal networks in all of these different farms and replaced them with spraying poisons on the farms. And also, we replaced them with putting nitrogen-based fertilizers, petrochemical fertilizers on these farms. Nitrogen makes the plants grow, sure, but for some reason the plants don't thrive as they could with fresh, unused up soil. It's a complicated problem to have. And that problem might not seem like that big of a deal, but there are some pretty serious real world ramifications going on. So if you are like me and you live in America and you live in the Midwest and you live in a city like Minneapolis, where you can drive 20, 30, 40 minutes outside the city and you will be in farm country. What you can do in June, July, August, kind of really whenever, you can hop in a car, you can drive out to a farm, you can walk on the farm. No one's going to stop you because farms are too big and no one's going to see you. And you can walk around the farm, you can walk around the corn. You can stop and you can listen. You can hear that there's no bugs. You can stop and you can crouch and you can touch the soil with your hands and realize the soil is powdery. And you can realize that aside from the corn being grown, this whole entire plot of land is completely dead. No worms, no fungus, no bacteria in the soil, no bugs, no things with wings in the air, no noises, just corn. And you go out there and you touch the soil and you hear the lack of noise, and there's something that feels wrong in your gut. You know that this isn't right. When you go to nature, you go to the nature parks or whatever, you get mosquito bites and you get bugs and you get noises and the ground is clumpy and the ground is sticky and that feels right. But the farms feel wrong. We use technology to separate our farming practices from the greater ecology, and that is a mistake. We did it primarily because our population is getting so big, it's hard to feed everybody. So instead of having more people, more laborers farm the right way, we have less people, more machines farm the wrong way. There's a lot of good things, bad things about our society and where it is. But the reality is, without our farms having things like sticky soil and other plants and bugs to balance out what's going on there, we've created a potential disaster. All you need to do is have a storm that's perfect in the perfect way, and all the soil in the Midwest, because there's nothing clumping it down, will just get kicked up and it'll just disappear. And it already happened once. It's called the Dust Bowl. Oklahoma used to be one of the most productive areas of the world, of North America for sure. It had great growing capacity. We grew stuff on it, grew more stuff on it, kept on growing. The soil turned powdery. A big storm came, kicked up all the dust, and now you can do nothing but ranch on those once extremely fertile soils of Oklahoma. We're at a risk of doing the same exact thing for the whole entire Midwest. The whole entire Midwest is at risk of destroying the soil. All going up into the clouds, all going away. Goodbye soil, goodbye corn, goodbye soy. So another question is, what are we going to do? Because this is not good. It's going to break. It's going to happen. It's eventual. It's not if, it's when. There's a lot of other crazy things that are going to happen. It's not if, it's when. But this is one that we can change. And on top of all of that, our current agricultural system is hurting the global warming issue as opposed to helping the global warming issue. So how do we go about and fix it? Well, what we got to do is we got to take this whole entire concept and we got to flip it on its head. So right now we have been focusing on cutting farming out of nature and then putting fake things into the soil in order to make way more food than the soil probably should have. And now what we need to do is we need to think about how to create hyper-productive ecologies. Now, a lot of people say that's impossible, that you can't develop hyper-productive ecologies, but I don't believe it. I think we can produce hyper-productive ecologies. I think the naysayers aren't seeing the full vision. And it is happening in hyper-productive regions. We just haven't figured it out in a place like Minnesota. Right now, agroforestry in places like Panama, like Peru, where the rainforests are, where there's so much energy and they have so much crop productive capacity, they can create fully regenerative forests. It's different than organic farming. Organic farming right now in the tropics is We burn down this whole entire field. We grow 2 seasons on it. We move on to the next one. That's what we do. We put 2 seasons on it. We move on to the next one. It grows back, whatever. We just keep on cutting down forest, burning it all, growing hyper-productive on it, and moving on. We're just like cutting down, cutting down, cutting down. Not a good idea. What we've learned in hyper-productive regions is you can intercrop, put a plant here, put a plant there, put a plant there, put a plant there, and have this whole entire planted region have a canopy of trees, which is good for the workers, have the canopy of trees drop limbs, which recarbonizes the soil, have a bunch of different plants planted all over the place, which helps with blight and disease and fungus and things, have actually birds come in and eat some stuff, and monkeys come in and eat some stuff, and they poop on the ground, and they put nutrients back in the ground naturally. We can have all of that occur with this intercropping concept and actually have 125% biomass come out of those regions. You don't have to take my word for it. I can get some professionals who work in this space to talk to me about it. I can get them to talk about it if they want to. Some of them just can't stop talking about it. And we are able to produce a hyper-productive forest in places like the tropics, tropical rainforests. This is possible. This does happen. We already do intercropping techniques and agroforestry techniques for coffee, for chocolate. Those are plants that actually need a cover layer and need shade in order for it to work. So it is possible. We can do agroforestry. It does happen in parts of this world, and the real thing is that we need to figure out how to do that in places like Minnesota and Iowa and Missouri. Because right now it's states full of dead fields. All they're doing is getting soy and corn out of it. There's nothing else alive there. And it's scary. So what do? Let's take a step back. We've got to learn about ecologies. Ecologies is just like the wild. Woohoo! It's wild. It's crazy. Like an ecology that comes to mind when I think about ecology is the North Woods, right? It's got its own trees. It's got lakes. It's got its own culture. Its own bacteria. It's got loons up there and eagles, and you can go fishing. And as a Minnesotan, you go to the Boundary Waters, and you're completely bathed in this unique ecology. Ecologies, plains are ecologies, right? Mountains have ecologies. The colder you go, the difference the ecology changes. And the most productive ecologies are ecologies that border each other. So the most productive region in the world, in terms of just pure biomass, is Indonesia, because it's an archipelago, right? It's got a bunch of islands, it grows a bunch of stuff, but then it's got a bunch of shoreline capacity. So not only does it have a really productive land, but also the water is really productive. It's 2 times productive. We can also have border ecologies between plains and forests. And that's actually what we did. We've already terraformed this earth once without even fully understanding or knowing. Because way back long ago, we were all in the savannah. The savannah was pretty awesome. We're like, this temperature is great. I love this dry heat that the savannah has. I love that there's plains here, and I love that there's forests over there, and this is where we live, and we love it, and we're humans, and this is the savannah, and it's great. And we hunted things in the savannah, and we lived in the plains, and we spent time in the forest, and we're on the border of plains and forest ecology. And then all the humans were like, yo, let's get out of here. We're going to get out of here. We're going to go all over the world, and what we're going to do, we're going to say, we hate this ecology, and we're going to turn it into the savannah. And that's what we did. We went up to Germany, went to the Black Forest, and we're like, yeah, we hate this forest. We're going to chop down all the trees. And now Germany is basically the savannah. All farmed regions in the world are essentially savannas, right? Big, huge plains with forests here and there. That's what the world was. That's what we did to the world. We terraformed it. We made the whole world mimic our like subconscious ancestral world, which is the savannah. And it was a good thing for us, the savannah lovers, and it made the world significantly more productive because savannah is plains, trees, forest, right next to each other. If it was all plains, it would only produce plain things. If it was all forest, it would only produce forest things. But a savanna produces plain things and forest things and the things that live on the boundaries between the plains and the forest. So three different things. Lots of things, very productive. And that's what we got to think again. How does this all work? Instead of mowing everything down, killing all the fungus in there, and then shoving fake fertilizers to create as much corn as we possibly can, we need to think about how can we rebuild the savanna ecology on all of our farms in order to save this world. A lot of people are going to say it's impossible. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's going to be a really hard challenge. What we need to do is we need to turn away from the mentality that we have now and think about being real stewards, real shepherds for productive ecologies. We have the people, we have the land, we have the ability, we have the creativity, we have the knowledge. We just need to put it all together. So first of all those big farmlands doing all the corn out in Minnesota, out in Iowa, over the years, in order to produce higher and higher yields, they have chopped down all of the trees around there, and they have drained all of the water reservoirs. They got rid of all of the border ecologies to try to make one gigantic corn ecology. One gigantic corn ecology. There's no trees in Iowa, so the wind blows quickly. Wind blows hard. We got powdery soil. Gets caught up in the wind. We lose our topsoil. We lose Iowa's topsoil. That's not good. We lose Iowa. We lose everything else. So, anyways, what do? We build ecologies. We build productive regions. We build all of this stuff. But we don't do it just here, we do it everywhere. And what's interesting is that America is really behind what's going on. We're behind the times compared to the rest of the world. What's interesting is one of the more interesting, oh, I said interesting so many times, but whatever. One of the more fascinating nooks to look into is Africa. Because Africa is experiencing the real climate changes firsthand. They're the most exposed. Africans are the most at risk. Africans have the biggest reason to get onto these global climate shifts, rebuilding their ecologies. Have you heard of the Great Green Wall? It's a pretty amazing project. It is a continental-wide project, the biggest cooperative project that the continent of Africa has ever seen. And it's for all countries bordering the Sahara. The Sahara is desertifying the neighboring ecologies. It's getting hotter, it's getting bigger, and it's encroaching on lots of people's lands. And it is going to desertify the whole entire continent if we don't watch out. In order to fight this, We have developed, the human race has developed the idea to create the big green wall. It starts in Senegal and it goes all the way to Tanzania, all the way through. And what we're doing is we're building a gigantic forest to act as a defense against the Sahara Desert. Not only are they doing that, but Africa is some of the leaders in figuring out alternative climate practices. They're digging ditches in the savannah because they're trying to combat desertification. They've got complicated soil water penetration, so they're digging ditches to create that. And they're figuring out that if you dig holes in a specific way and you plant specific plants around it, what was once a completely desolate part of the world all of a sudden becomes teeming with life. We've got agroforestry projects in Peru. We've got these hole digging projects all over the continent of Africa, transforming what was at one point completely desolate, isolated desert into these bastions of of greenery. And in case you're curious of how that works, Africa has a lot of rainy seasons and dry seasons. The soil is very, very dense, very hard, and the water doesn't go into the soil very easily. It takes a while for it to seep in. So during the rainy season, it'll just rain and then it'll run off all the way to the ocean. And the earth isn't able to capture that rain. So instead of having all the rain run off into the ocean, what these projects are doing is they're digging ditches all over the place. They're kind of creating these networks of ditches. It kind of looks like a really pimply face all over these dry areas that receive these land or these monsoons annually. And when it rains, the ditches fill up, the ditches hang out, and then they permeate through the soil because they have more time to chill on top of the soil. That makes the soil wet, that makes it available for things like seeds to get into there, and then all of a sudden a lot of things start growing. Things start growing, there's greenery, more humidity, changing the climate, changing the culture, changing the ecology. So what we're seeing is real ecological change and progress on the continent of Africa. We're seeing real agroforestry successes in hyperproductive regions. And we need the whole world to sit up, pay attention, and figure out how to do those types of practices at home. We need to plant more trees in Minnesota. We need to reduce the amount of corn being grown. We need to create these bounds of ecologies in order to create a hyperproductive region, right? If you build forests throughout Minnesota, you can harvest that forest. You can get trees out of it and all these other things. The the big what if is what if we do all this stuff and we don't make enough food? And that's a real risk. Also, if you're doing regenerative agriculture or agroforestry techniques, you need a lot more manpower. You can't rely on machines like we have. You need to have hands touching soil, doing the hard work of weeding, doing the hard work of building up this ecology. And there is no easy button. We need two things to happen. One is there needs to be an inevitable population correction. I don't think it's going to be uh, done by humans, but I think the planet is due for a significant population correction in the planet itself will do it. So I think there will be a significant population correction coming. And through the ashes of that population correction, the people who are building the new world need to develop this proper agricultural way of doing it, agroforestry. And so that also means we need to get a lot of people back interested into growing food. I think there's two ways to do it. I think that there's going to be a natural return to farming. There are so many people in this world that feel so disconnected, don't have the soil between their toes, don't know what it's like to really feel that connection to nature. And I think that naturally people are going to shift back into the other direction of needing and wanting to be closer to nature. So I think that we need a lot more people to go back to the farms and labor, because farm work is laborious. And we need to start being good stewards today. It's on you to learn about your own ecology, your own world, and learn how to fix it. You don't have to be amazing at it, but you at least need to be conversational in this. I think an interesting business idea would be to have a garden service for gated communities. Sell it as a premium service. You get your gated community all on board. They say, yeah, we want to reserve X amount of our land, our lawns, right? Because lawns are just kind of a waste of grass space. Get those lawns into becoming productive foods, put your garlics and your cucumbers. Have teams of people every day working through neighborhoods of gated communities' lawns. Those folks get the added benefit of having all of their produce right there. The gated community gives half their produce to the company. The company distributes that produce made throughout the local food network systems, grocery stores, etc., etc. It's going to be a lot of work, but it can definitely be done. And I'm sure there's so many people who would love to have a professionally managed garden in front of their lawn. At a high level, our food network systems are dead. We keep them alive through petrochemical-based fertilizers. And we need a full shift on how this is done. Fungicides and herbicides will be the end of us all.